Hi, I'm Gil Cohen, the SVP of Client Success and Strategic Partnerships at Trend Hunter, and I'm AI. And if you're unfamiliar, I'm here with Jeremy Gutsche, and his history with AI goes back so far, all the way back to IBM Watson, perhaps the most iconic version of AI for our generation, correct?
Yeah, what was really fun about helping to launch IBM Watson is that's over a decade ago now. And what was interesting is it was the first real taste for me of seeing the sort of corporate versions of AI. Now, AI has actually been around since the 1950s, but I was enamored by it. And I got to meet all of the people behind the scenes who worked on things like Jeopardy and as well, learning a little bit more about their first endeavors into the corporate world, which were healthcare, banking, etc. But when all that happened, I registered trendhunter.ai, went back to our CTO, Derek, and said, let's get going. And we had chats with the IBM time, way back then about trying to use some of their technology. And then in the end, we just pretty much started adventuring on our own. But all that put us in a good position then, using AI for so long, to realize how much more accessible it was becoming a couple of years ago. So starting January 2023, we forced every department of our team to go half a day a week on AI. You were one of our hardest core adopters. It was 2.5 years ago that you invented Techlin and cloned yourself to actually have an agent doing client success in our office, which was something that kind of dropped the jaws of some of the other teams. They saw what you did. I'm like, okay, we need to catch up to Gil and, her team. So how was Techlin?
I mean, Techlin's amazing. She's my mini me. And I try to keep her a secret because she will replace me one day. But basically, ever since then, because we got so productionized from our little AI super sessions, we started to host AI readiness programs for Fortune 500s and all of our clients. So they've been loving it. So everyone wants to know, Jeremy, how are you personally using AI in your daily work?
Well, I doubt everyone wants to know, but let's go on over here a little tour. Now, actually, before I even show you some of the latest things that I personally do with ChatGPT, I think it's useful to pull up this slide that we have from the last couple of years of Future Festival, where we map out the phases of the inflection point. So we believe that we're in year 3 of the inflection point, and the inflection point would be 5 years. So 2023 was year 1, and if you attended our Future Festival, that was the big theme. And in that year, we forced our Trend Hunter team to go half a day a week of using AI tools, as we talked about. But it was all about chatbots and tools. 2024 became more chaotic. Suddenly, everyone had an AI solution to every little thing, and that's great, but kind of makes you feel overwhelmed. Where do you start? What's really cool, though, is that in this year and in the year that follows, the agents and the AI tools start to work together, which means they unhobble, and we move from a chatbot world to an agent world. Now, why this is really interesting and how I'm going to relate it to how I'm using AI in your question is that it sets up sort of an urgency to really up your skills, because everything that you know now sounds like you've experienced AI and it's great, but our brain sort of imagines, what does ChatGPT 5 look like in 6? Whereas the reality that's much different. So I thought I would give you like a little preview and a tour. So you're used to ChatGPT, but let's look at GenSpark today. So this is one of the first super agents, meaning it can access all sorts of other agents, bots, etc. It has about 100 different tools. It can communicate. It can work with them. If you say, plan my trip, it can research all the best restaurants, actually call the restaurants and book them for you and make your trip and turn it into a website before you go. So let's do it live, because I think it's pretty impactful. So here's the modern state of AI. So I wrote, plan me a trip to Italy, September 5th to 21. It's actually about when we're going to have our Future Festival. So this is just me making an update. But I'm planning a trip for my wife, my 2-year-old boy, my 3-year-old boy, and Annie. The boys love cars. We love museums. We'd be in Milan the first week. We keep on going. And then eventually we're actually going to go to a wedding. So I enter that, and then here's the wild part. Instead of just getting an answer like you're used to seeing when you interact with ChatGPT, it keeps going. So, all right, using a tool, checking out travel, family-friendly itineraries for Milan and Lake Como, and it's just going to keep on ripping through all the guidebooks, making calls, figuring it out. And actually, we're running this now, and it'll take about 5 or 10 minutes. But I ran it just before the webinar, and you can see it sort of went through checked out all the hotels, found me car museums for my little boys, picked out family-friendly activities. Then it pulled up maps and figured out how close everything actually was. And then it started building an itinerary. But then I said to it, oh, I really want ratings and I want pictures. And can you make this more visual for me? And then it made a website for me, family trip to Italy, and gave me hotels. And if I want to change a hotel or a part of the itinerary, I'll just say that in my next prompt. But then for each day, it sort of explains, here on this day, go to the Alfa Romeo Museum. Here's the rating. There's a museum cafe. Well, I like to know that because I got little kids, so it's useful to know. Here's where you can go for dinner. And then it explains it. I can then say the next step of, okay, please book all of these for me and make reservations. And that's wild because instead of a world where we're just chatting with the chatbot, it's then doing all this extra research, implementing rating, and then in this case, turning it into a website or put a bit of PowerPoint. But that's wild, and that's what's available now and sort of explains the new urgency and understanding where we're headed in 2025 and 26.
Basically, cheat codes for life.
There we go. Cheat codes for life. I like it.
So be really ruthless. In your opinion, which industry is underestimating AI right now?
It's interesting because we've had a chance to work in all sorts of industries, from energy to CPG to travel to, whatever you might imagine, even tech. And I think that what we've seen on the back end is that it's almost not even about industry, but certainly a lot of companies are underestimating how much their competitor might be doing. And we've worked in really sleepy industries, but with highly aggressive clients where it's mind-blowing to see how much further they are ahead. So I'd say it's almost like 80% of clients are in the middle where it's like, oh, but what about our security? And, we'll just wait to see what we can get from Copilot, from Microsoft, or Gemini, from Google. Whereas the other end, you've got people extremely aggressive buying companies. One of our CEO clients has a 110,000 person company, and he personally now heads the AI council and goes every couple of weeks because he doesn't want to miss out on this category. Another favorite client of ours, Bill Hayden from Universal, when he's a chief strategy officer, but when he saw how quickly AI was progressing 2 years ago, he personally signed up for the courses to learn how to code. And I think that that's like one end, but again, the other end, people are kind of waiting, or they've got little things happening and they're not using it in their day-to-day.
It's almost becoming too late. If they don't start now, they'll never be able to catch up.
And I think that's sort of when we say year 3 of the inflection point, I feel like that's the most important message for people to get right now. Like chatbots was 2 years ago. Last year were specific companies. Now we're into agents. And if you're not using these tools for half of your day, you're extremely missing out on what your sort of true potential could be.
Are there any myths or buzzwords you wish people would stop using about AI?
I think that an interesting thing is that most people tried, let's say, ChatGPT 6 or 9 months ago, and then they're anchored in it. Mm-hmm. And so they have an expectation, oh, it hallucinates, or is our data safe? Or, there's things that they're anchored in that are different now. So, for example, in October, ChatGPT 4.0 was an IQ that was 85 or 90. And by certain measures, the new version by December was a 120 IQ. And the version by January was a 160 IQ. That's a lot of progress in just a couple months. And so layer on agents and tasks and deep research and all the new tools that have happened just in the last month or so. And I feel like people maybe are missing out on the amount of progress that's just happened.
So fast. It moves so quickly. What's the most ridiculous use of AI you've seen, and has it secretly impressed you?
Well, I guess the cute one is everyone turning themselves into action figures or bobbleheads. But it's like, on one hand, it's ridiculous. If you thought of the amount of global resources and computing power being used, it probably equals some small country's energy consumption. But I like that it's delighting people and opening up the potential that people see in their eyes of what can actually be done.
It's making it accessible to the masses by making...
You got it.
Okay. And if you could have an AI assistant with a secret superpower, what would it be?
It's interesting because I feel like your AI agents right now already can do things like go build me a website for XYZ. But the reality of my email inbox is that there's all sorts of little things that need to be coordinated and basic tasks that need to be tracked. And I would love an AI agent that can replicate all the little tiny chores of life that I feel need my personal attention.
All right, got that? Make that and come back to us, okay?
Nice.
A huge highlight is going to be your AI keynote at this year's Future Festival in New York. So what's something you want people to take away from that event?
So our New York Future Festival in June is going to bring together some of the best content that we've been working with over the last year. And it's really, I think, going to give people a nice overview of why now, what next, and how to win. And I think the why now part is really about sort of explaining the exact point in time that we're at and sort of giving enough context to realize how quickly the momentum's about to go. Some of that sounds cliche, but I assure you, you probably don't realize how much you could already be automating in your everyday life. So that'll be a bit on the why now. What's next unrolls the predictions that are pretty well known because these are things being researched that will happen over the course of the next year. And then how to win gets really, really tactical. So how can you apply some of the AI tools that are out there, your daily job? What can you automate? What can you not automate? And for people attending, I think you're going to meet a lot of like-minded individuals that are going through the same transitions, maybe not technical, maybe more like CMOs or VPs of marketing, that kind, or innovation, that kind of thing, who are similarly tackling AI at a rate that might be around what you're trying to do as well. But you'll also get to talk to our team, where people have spent 2.5 years now fully all in, half a day a week or more, doing nothing in that half a day a week, but looking at tools to perpetually try to automate or enhance their role.
Yeah, there's really something about talking with real people who are actually using the tools on the ground and getting inspiration from them as well. It's really helpful. Okay, so quick fire round now. Just a few more questions for you. What's something about the future of AI that scares you?
I think when you see a drone show that has, 15,000 drones all in the air in China that there's to set a new world record replacing fireworks, I think some people look at that and think, oh, that's fireworks. But that's a display of military power. And I think that some of the military-like applications of AI that's weaponized or putting AI into robots and drones is a pretty scary topic that most people wouldn't even want to start talking about.
Yeah, I agree. I also think there's something about AI staying in the hands of the masses and not just being discriminated and given to a few people. We need that diversity of thought. Okay, what's one big, bold prediction you have for the future of AI?
I'd say that you're going to see by the next year, these agents really automate entire roles. And at first, people will tackle the question of, oh, is it right for it to do this? But then you're just going to see it happen and it's unstoppable. And then once you layer in your robots, then it starts getting very interesting. So there's already multiple companies that have their version of a $20,000, ideally, home robot. And that can sound like a lot of money for a robot, but that's not as much money if you think about what it could do, which could be all of your cooking, all of your cleaning, all of the things in your house that need fixing. You start adding what those might be, and you keep this robot for several years, and suddenly it's actually very economic for people to have a house robot. So that's a little outlandish, but it's being worked on, and I think that people will compare it to the price of a car and choose a smaller car, but have a house robot doing all the chores.
I can't wait. I'm so excited for my house robot.
I agree.
Lastly, any final pieces of advice for people just getting into AI now?
So really, it's about immersing yourself. Working on words still. That's part of being a professional speaker. Immersing yourself into just playing around with the tools and getting going, and then trying to use AI as a thought partner. So consider what your life would be like if you spend the next month not opening up Google as your first point of entry to answering a question, but chatting with a bot, whether it's ChatGPT or whatever your favorite bot might be, and then actually using it as a sparring partner for your thoughts or ideas. Hey, here's the email I was thinking of sending. Here's the presentation that I'm going to be giving. But just trying to see how it can refine and push you or help you see the overlooked opportunity that might be so close within your grasp.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
All right. Thank you, Gil. And join us at Future Festival New York in June or our World Summit in Toronto in September. Whoa, Gil really is AI.